Okay, I have 8:30. At this time, we'll call the April 13th meeting of the West Memphis Utility Commission to order. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the March 8th meeting. Mr. Smith has a motion. Second, Mr. Holmes. Any additions or deletions? All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Next item is the March safety reports.
Good morning, all.
Morning.
Okay. We are currently 43 days, got a lost time injury, and 43 since our last formal injury. Year to date, we've had that one, so our incident rate for March is 4.2, and then today with an extra 5,000 hours added into that calculation, we're down to a 3.8. So again, the more hours we work without injury, that number is going to continue to go down. Our March training topic was over unsafe conditions in the workplace. We talked about the two most common types, and that'd be slip, trips, and falls. There were a little bit of explanation of what those are, you know, the cluttered in your work area, on your walk surfaces, changes in elevation, and then pinch points would be where you've got machinery operating, anywhere you could get in between something that's either rotating or moving and unguarded. And just a basic overview of how to address hazards and the awareness. Stop, take time to evaluate your work area and a task, recognize unsafe conditions or what they can turn or what can turn into one, and then act to correct the condition. Stop work, involve other personnel to get the conditions corrected if it requires it, and then follow through to make sure that the hazards are identified and mitigated, and then continue throughout the day as you're working to constantly be looking for new hazards. And last little thing, we can all take ownership, responsibility for the work to eliminate unsafe conditions that we identify. And every time we do that, it's a lesser risk of someone being injured on the job. And with that, that's all I've got. Has anybody got any questions?
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next item is an update and reduced field correction instead of fiber. That's supposed to be AMI.
You were wondering why I was looking at you.
Yes, sir. I was like, oh, not the fiber guy, you are. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Update on the AMI project. All right. As of the beginning of April, we have approximately 3,000 electric meters installed out of 12,000. As of this morning, we are at 3,169. I created this last week, so I'm going to give you a little bit of update on what we're seeing also this morning. So 16 of 76 routes within the city completed. As of today, we'll have 18 routes of 76 completed. Out of those routes, we have had no estimations, these 16 routes, no estimations on the electric readings, and we're doing remote shutoffs, which is a plus. With those 16 routes, which I'll show you later, we have a lot of lock gates and dogs, and now getting accurate bills and getting reads every month. Our readers are still manually reading the water meters in those sections and the electric meters that have not been changed out. Approximately 2,400 boxes and lids have been delivered, with more arriving monthly until we've received all 9,000 that we've ordered. 500 1-inch water meters have been delivered, with 500 more to be coming soon. A delivery of 300 quarter-inch water meters will be delivered starting this month and every month until the order is complete, which would be 8,000 3/4-inch water meters. May 9th, our ERTS, which is the module that goes in, connects to the water meter, and attaches to the composite lid of the water meter box. Will start arriving then. I think he said approximately 2,500, and then we'll start getting some monthly after that. Mid-May, 1st of June, we hope to have contractors in to start the installation of the new water meters. Deposit boxes, lids, and the AMI ERTs. This is, as of about a week ago, kind of what we're looking at within the city. Here is kind of out by Snyder where we had a billboard off the interstate that we were having to estimate probably half of the year because the ditches being full of water, it's out in the middle of a field, so it was hard to get to. This area here is from Shopping Way all the way to where the Boys Club is on South Worthington, back over to Colonial and that area. Up to Pin Oak, Pine Ridge on that. Here, we're talking about the country club. That's the country club there. We just finished that up last week. In this area is apartments, let's say down South Avalon, where Mr. Lackey's apartments are, and a little bit down Raymond Village. We have moved over this week, this is an old mapping. We've completed North 14th, North 12th, 13th. Back this area over here would be Bay 32nd, and that was actually finished, will be finished up this morning, and then they're moving to the apartments there. I think they used to be their Park Plaza, and now I think they're River something.
Maria,
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, before you switch, the numbers in the circles, is that the number of meters that are served in that?
Yes, yes, sir.
So each one of those is a collection point?
I wouldn't say collection point, but that is just the number that the UDM at Utilismart is showing us on a mapping that is kind of way out. We can go on this one here. This is a little bit different program that we're using, but each green dot is a meter. Like I said, this is not completely up to date. This is last week's stuff, but each one is a meter. And we should be having some probably next week when the CIS download into the system. So back over to the country club, and you'll see more green dots back over in this area.
So each of those green dots is communicating via radio frequency
Yes, sir.
with how many?
We have 17 collection clubs.
Okay, that's where I was going.
Yes,
I was trying to figure out
Yes,
those two together. Thank you.
You're welcome.
May I ask a question? They will send the information back to here,
Yes, sir.
so we don't have to drive a vehicle down the street to read the meter.
No, sir. I can get on the computer and pull up an address and get you a reading right now. Or shut it off, or look at the consumption history, or whatever. Informing the customer. We, as in meter readers, some of my staff have been going out a day or two beforehand, with the contractors. They're notifying me, letting me know where they're at, how much they have left, this, that, and other. We're going out hanging door hangers and putting them on every door, notifying the customer that they or we will be in that area at least 1 to 2 days beforehand. The contractors are knocking on every door. Now, apartment complexes are a little bit different. We're not knocking on every door at apartment complex because you're not in the backyard or anything like that. They're just going to the game bases where there's multiple meters and doing their work. But in the neighborhoods, the residences, they are knocking on every door. Sometimes they get a little tied up because people are asking questions, but they're knocking on doors, informing the customer with that. And the contractors are wearing utility badges like you all use to get into the doors, except for they don't have access. It's their face, saying West Memphis Utility Contractor on it, and We did issue them vests Monday that have West Memphis Utility on. That way, other than their annexure stuff, they also have something visible saying West Memphis Utilities on. Other than that, that is it. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Typical change out. 2.5 minutes, and by the time they pull the old meter, put the new one in.
What they do when they get in the backyard, basically, they will take a picture of the surrounding area around the electric. Next, they will pull that meter, take a picture of the meter itself at a close-up, pull that meter out, take a picture of the socket, then they put the meter back in, close it back up, and then take a picture from the outside, but once again, as they're left, to show, somebody says, my wheelbarrow got broke because they moved it, or what have you, we've got some type of pictures to show it was back there, it was the way it was there then left.
Power interruption is very good.
Very little. Max, I would say 2 minutes maximum, unless there's some type of issue.
Are you finding any issues?
Not really. It's been, I expected more. But we've had probably out of the, let's say, 3,000 meters that we've put in, maybe 10 that we've had to send over, and maybe because of a block inside the meter base, when we pulled the meter, it was broken. So we are either attempting to repair that ourselves, that way we can get the customer back on quickly, or if it's too awful bad, we may get an electrician. It's going really well, better than I expected. Yes, sir.
On the utility segment, of course, it always shows the meter reading prior and ending.
Yes, sir.
With switching these out, will there be another item there so they'll know, or is it just?
No, sir, it will be same as what it was before.
Okay. So if somebody wanted to go out and look at the meter, those numbers are not going to match up?
Most likely not.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Sure.
So it's our hope in the future that the customers will be able to go online and see a dashboard.
Yes.
That is,
They are actually working on that now as we speak.
so we were holding our breath as this, switching the meter out's not a big deal. Getting everything to talk back and forth and integrate, that's, I think, I don't know if you'd say it, it seemed like that's the biggest accomplishment so far. That's gone pretty good.
Will there be a point when I, John Doe, can just sign on to my account and see what my meter's doing?
Yes, that's what the customer portal will be for.
Okay. And that'll be operational.
It's real time.
That, like I said, right now, they are in the process of, UtiliSmart is in the process of getting that going. It will not only let you see your consumption, but it will give you, it won't be the whole bill together.
Correct.
Like your electric meter, it will show you by how much we charge per kilowatt hour, what you have used in a dollar amount. Water consumption will be the same way. It will not be a true bill that you will be issued, but you'll be able to see what you've used electric, how much you've used, water consumption, how much you've used.
So I was just curious, I'm out of town for a week. At some point in time, I'll just be able to jump on and check the water meter. If anything's going to go wrong with my house, it could be that. So,
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. And if you're gone in the winter
Yeah.
and temperature drops,
Correct.
So the bills will still show the meter readings before and after, or beginning and ending. And it'll also show the date of that ending reading, correct? Like the date read, like they do now?
Should, yes. Yes, sir.
So you could have a reference point, I guess, kind of what you were saying was, all right, so they read it on the 20th of every month, so I want to go out on the 20th and read my meter so I can verify that it's, because there's a lot of conversation that I hear about, why is my bill so high? Last month it was $2, this month it's $8 million, why is that? Yeah.
Do they have any type of redundancy on the network, or you rely on one network to read these meters?
One network. The way these meters work, are you saying network to collect the readings or network for the readings to be able to get it back to us. 'Cause there's,
To get back, I know that the collection point is gonna collect.
yes.
There's overlap.
So,
Yeah, but when you say, that's what I'm talking about, as a redundancy, if you got one network coming that way, if you gotta fail over.
yes, sir. The great thing about this system is you've got what they call a parent meter and then children. So these children talk to this parent guy, and then the parent sends it to the collector that's up on the pole. We are sending the readings in by cellular from the BC collector into our hosting, which would be Tammy's. These meters, if one of these Versa collectors go down, then they will find a different direction to go to get those readings to their self-healing network, basically.
Now, I know that, but I'm talking about sending the information to you. You doing the collection, you doing the shut off, you doing the reading. That cellular fail is there a redundancy network that fail over to get it back to you from one. So you're not hosting your own, right? We're not hosting out, right?
Correct.
You got another party hosting it. That host is sending it to you. Does that host have a redundancy network to you? When their network fails,
Mhm.
we're not left in the black. It falls over and runs over another network.
That, I can't give you a 100% answer, but they have huge servers all over the place.
But in the event that happens, you're
In
not
the
losing
event
power. Customers are not out of service.
No.
You just don't get meter reading on your desktop or wherever it is, so you don't have
Correct.
to send somebody out.
Correct.
You can still go manually read the meter because the meter's still functioning.
Yes, and
There's
if
just
it
no
were to be something
backup.
like they were needed to be cut back on, they were cut off, we can do that also. With a laptop.
So you don't know.
No, sir.
Yeah, but see, what it amounts to is we sit here in Arkansas. Okay, we sit right here in West Memphis. There's I-55 bridge, there's I-40 bridge. If somebody's just using I-40 and it's shut down, they don't have a way, they don't know to reroute traffic to 55. When network's big enough like we're trying to operate now, we move the whole city to this network. We've got to have a backup network. When that goes down, you could sit here on cutoff day and cut off 50 people. Okay? Network goes down, those people that paid, how we gonna shut them all up? Grab a bunch of people, send out and start turning them back on?
Yes, sir.
Whereas if you had a failover network, you just keep running. When one, it reads itself, when one goes down, it automatically brings the other one up. That's what we need to make sure that's in place.
We can get you the details on that, but we have that.
But
This
she just
system
said
has
you did
been
before.
used, we're not a beta tester. We just can't tell you exactly how that works. We'll get that. We have redundancy in this, and these things have memory. And if there is a glitch, it bounces back up. But we'll get you the details on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Matt.
I'm calling somebody now.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess this will be Ward, discuss utility ordinances, 2629, 2630, and 2631.
So, since the last commission meeting, we realized we had some things that we needed to waive bidding on, and I took this to the city council, and so I'm kind of updating you on what happened and why. The first one, 2629, is to waive competitive bidding for hanging of electric lines across I-40. And Mike Downing is here to give us a background on that. And I need to move the thing on. This one up.
Yeah,
That's fine, you can do this. You want to see it, you better do it.
Okay.
What we actually have here is, we've got two breakers feeding the dog track. But there's
big expansion they're doing, one breaker has too small wire on it to be a backup to the main breaker. In that breaker, it has some number 2 copper that's not big enough to carry the dog track if I have to switch it to there. The problem is there's about 11 spans right there by the Flying J around Express Inn and the Pilot Truck Stop that goes all the way through the Southland Drive. That's number 2 copper. It'll hold half what the rest of the wire holds. So we did this last summer in an emergency situation. We burnt that wire down. It didn't last 2 hours. We had to fix all that up then. So now what I'm proposing to do is have that wire, it's 11 spans going across the interstate all the way to Southland Drive. That way, when something happens to the main breaker that's feeding the dog track, I can switch it to this breaker, not have to worry about it burning down. They're building so fast, they're outgrowing us out there. We actually need a substation on that side of the interstate because everything feeding them is coming from this side of the interstate. That's overloading everything. Right now, the breakers they're on, we're all right. The breaker's good for about 520 ounces, sitting on 400, 450, 480 all through the summer. That's not an issue, that's plenty. But the problem is, energy comes up, the substation, the main stuff is there, and one of the secondaries there, they have to have those stations killed. We have to move all that load to different parts of town to keep that on. Well, that's the issue because these other breakers got 300 or 400 amps on them. They're only good for 520 amps. So now we got an issue where we've got to change this wire, put opening and closing spots where we can divide that load up on 3 or 4 breakers out of this part of the city to keep them in the power and be able to handle the amperage. Now, this is just, I'm going to call this a Band-Aid to the issue because their future growth, we're going to have to come across that interstate with some real big wire to help them because what we got's not going to do it. That means work at the substation, everything. Even the station, the breakers are going to be overloaded switch-wise. That's all got to be changed out. The breaker's good for 1,200 amps. We've only got 600 amp capacity at the switches. That'll all have to be changed to keep them going. The issue with that is let's shut it down and do it, which that's the issue, but we can get by that cheaper than trying to build a substation. Build a substation, transmission, 1 mile of transmission wire is $2 million. It's 5 miles from Family Dollar to where we need that station built. So you got that cost already. It cost you $20,000 to build $20 million to build a substation. But that's the only thing that's going to 100% cure Southland's issue if they keep going. Now, I was out there Tuesday talking to them. I explained all this to them. We got an issue already. They're overloading one of my transformers there, and it's staying in the 3,000 degrees heat 24/7. And that's not going to work. What we got right there close to the place is not working. So we've now got to add another transformer, another feed. We sat down and talked to them. I think they're either going to pay for it, help us pay for it, or something. That's in the work too. That's another Band-Aid because the feed that they have, we have to move another feed because that feed's overloaded now. So the dog track's putting a whooping on us when it comes to being a reliable electric company to them. If we sit here any longer and they keep going, we're going to be in trouble. So our quickest way of fixing it is we conduct this wire and get it on over there before they get to where there's nothing we can do. We won't be able to keep them on. If energy says, hey, these transfer, these stations have got to be off. For 30, sometimes it's 35, 40 days they want them off. And it's just getting to where we can't do that anymore. Dog track, they used to have that. We could do it easy without no problem. But, I mean, this right here is a quick fix or a Band-Aid to where I can keep them on without burning anything else down. This grid was not built for that side of the interstate. When all that was put in out there, there probably wasn't 5 places they had to have power, with dog track being the main one. So it wasn't built for the future, it was built for them. And I don't know, I've been down here 30, 37 years, and that dog track's been there since I was here. I don't know when it came, but that's been the same wire, the same everything that whole time. As they've grown, we haven't. And everything's 3 times as high. I mean, stuff that you could do for 100,000, now it's 400,000. So that's the reason we're having to do this. It's all about the dog track. And this is not gonna be the last of it. This is just gonna be a start.
So this gets power from Gateway across the interstate, buys you time, because as Mike said, you know, the dog track is expanded greatly. We've got a hospital over there now, we've got the Tourist Information Center, and he's essentially doubling the size of the wire to take
We're gonna have to do.
so we can hang wire ourselves, but we're not too good at hanging across the interstate. Fisher Arnold looked at this, and they got a quote from somebody for $500,000. Mike checked with Jonesboro. They recommended this company, Great Power, and he checked them out. They bid $150,000. So instead of going through the bidding process, because we want to get this done before summer, and when everybody over there turns their air conditioners on, we went to the city council with this explanation. I've got a copy of the ordinance here to let us go ahead and get this wire moved across. And while we're doing it, we're going to throw in a fiber line, because at some point we got to cross the interstate with fiber. So they're going to put a fiber line in for us. It may be a little while before we hook it up, but we won't have to come back and do this again. So kind of get into it.
One thing about it too is now, you can no longer set a wooden pole to go across a main thoroughfare like that. It has to be metal. So we're gonna have to purchase more poles and everything for this job. That pole's got an 80-year life expectancy, so it's well worth the money.
So you've gotten the poles you've worked with Jonesboro. They've had some poles we've gotten. You've gotten the wire. This is labor and expertise to get it across. We followed a regular procurement process for the equipment and procurement.
They say they can do that whole job in about 6 weeks if they don't rain.
And we all want to come see the crossing. Now, did you tell me they don't have to close the interstate?
They said they can put it up there without, have to get a permit, of course, to work over there.
Yeah.
But they say they won't have to shut the interstate.
I don't want to see that. Okay.
I
So
mean,
we're planning ahead for the future growth here, and Peyton's working on the electrical model and things like this, so we can see this ahead. And Mike's been real good, working very closely with Southland on this, and we want to keep the lights on over there. We want to keep the lights on everywhere.
Well, they praised the city when I was out there too. They talking to them about how we maintained them and they're easy to work with and all that stuff. And I mean, ever since I came here to keep the dog track on, is all I've ever heard. Don't let that go off. I mean, that's what it's been. And
Now, that's the same for anywhere else.
When they kick those air conditioners on in those hotel rooms over there, that's
that's right.
got to be ready for that.
All right, so we'll be ready for them.
Well, no, I just want to remind you that it's not going to be the end of it. It's going to be the first thing we come to forward. Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, you talking about the poles, the metal poles to cross the interstate like that, 80-year lifespan. Do they have capacity for additional,
The poles, can they handle other wires?
Oh, yeah.
and more?
Potential strength, yeah, that's chicken.
20 years from now, we say, hey, we need to add something. I mean, I'm just looking like adding the fiber line now, even though we don't need it right now. We're looking ahead to be prepared for that, and these poles will be able to
Yeah.
accommodate additional things as well.
Yes, sir.
So what's the total cost expected?
I'll tell you how it come about. When Katrina hit down in Louisiana, Jonesboro went down there to work during that time. And all the metal poles and stuff that they had left after the end of that storm, they bought them all. And they've got a stockpile of them up there. That's how I knew they had them. And normally those poles are about 15 grand a piece. They sold both of them for 80. So it's a good deal. I'm good friends with the guys up there, and that's a good deal. Now, I treat them the way they got. Fisher Arnold, when we got them to come out there and look at that interstate crossing, he said 500,000 just to cross that interstate. And I told Ty after that, look, we crossed the interstate 3 times, we didn't spend $50,000 on none of it. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy to pay that kind of money. That's the reason Ty had his agenda and I had mine. I got a contractor come in, and I'll do this whole job for $150,000. You know what I mean? It's a no-brainer to me, you know, but this is where we're at.
So less than 200,000
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, 6 weeks.
Originally,
If it doesn't rain, where they're at, it's kind of a muddle. If you've ever been out there around that pile of flying J where that line goes across, it's a ditch and it stays wet. He said, you got a track machine, he's gonna put it in there.
And we need to start looking at we need to find $20 million to build a substation over
And
there.
I talked to Southam about that, and they seemed willing to get to be a part of that. Because they wanna know, they're gonna get a committee together to come to the utilities with they wanna know our availability and what we got in mind for this coming up thing. So I said, that's what y'all need to do. They don't want you to know nothing about this new stuff that's fixing to come in, but it's gonna be about 2.5 megs or more electricity they gotta have, and that's gonna make an issue about our wire size there. I told them, I said, you can't keep it a secret from us, you can do it, but you can't build and say, hey man, that's 2.5 more megs, you don't have it. So we got a communication started now with them where they're gonna come to us when they got something new coming. They wanna know availability on the water, sewer and everything at this meeting we're gonna have, not just electric. Well, some reason they say they might have a water issue, I don't know, but I'm not in the water, I don't know. I just know about the electric, and that's what I'm trying to do, keep that going, and no issues,
Thank you.
okay?
Sir, thank you.
All right.
So there are two other ordinances that we went to city council for, and for Maria's project. One is when we negotiated the electric AMI project, we had put in a pilot program for 250 water meters. And at the time, we just wanted to see if it worked, if the software could talk back and forth. And with our low water rates, it was going to be a little while for payback, and we were just going to plan ahead. Well, then we had an opportunity to get a grant for this project back in November, and we won the grant. So with that, we've pulled the water meter section forward, and we're going to be implementing that this year. And I thought it was a little bit of a gray area on how the AMI electric contract was written out and how the water meter pilot program was put in there. Depending on the auditor, they might be able to argue, well, you didn't get a price. We felt we did, but this is just to make sure there's no question and everybody knows what we're doing. So the two ordinances, one of them is for the installation of the water meters outside the 250. And it's the same crew, they're here now, and it just makes sense to do that now. And the other ordinance was to waive the competitive bidding, because we felt we'd already done that, but it wasn't really clear. So we're using the same contractor, the same vendor that the pilot program was. So that's what these two things are for. We will be submitting our first pay request for our grant, and one of the things they want to see clearly is that we followed the law and followed the procurement process. So I just wanted to make sure we were able to get our money. So that's what those two things are about. Any questions on that?
But we need to approve these three ordinances.
This is for information.
Because we see in the city council.
They've already done it, they've given an ordinance number, and they've signed off on it.
Okay.
I just got to them before I got to you.
All right. Anybody got any questions? Got to dot the i's and cross the t's. Okay, the next item is discussion on the forming of committees. I think all y'all received a letter on that. You want to take over?
Yes, so I wanted to get some feedback, here if anybody just wanted to jump on a committee, wanted to take charge, what are the feelings here? I'm calling on people. Yes, sir.
I'm up for anything. I thought I had stuck my letter in my packet, but obviously I didn't.
I just
I'm glad to do
Realize I
it.
didn't
I
have
think
it
it's a
in
great
my
idea.
kids
I
either.
think we
Should our chairman be on each committee?
I would like that, but, you know, we're flexible, as long as we, have some participation.
Well, I think our chairman should be on each committee. I mean, just
Well,
not,
I'd suggested him, I would be like ex officio, I will attend all the meetings, but I don't want to have a chairmanship and maybe not even a vote. But,
well, you gotta have something, man. You can't just.
well, I'm sitting there and listening, and
Yeah,
give
well,
guidance,
the committees discuss and bring it
Yeah.
but whatever,
Right.
to the meetings and, yeah, it doesn't want to influence the committee's activity.
because y'all may have a meeting when I won't be able to attend, and when you just got 4 people on it,
Yeah.
so,
The search committee will be dealing with the new position. Okay, and
and that's
we have
what
not,
we need.
we have
That's
not
what we-
advertised for that yet.
That's a committee we need to get
We need
started.
to get
going
started on
that's the
that
right
first
now.
quickly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'll serve on that committee.
Okay,
I will
great. So the power one is, we're going through, it'd be great for everybody to know about that. NextEra has offered to come up in June or July, kind of give a little primer on the contract and some of the issues and some of the things we should look out for. And we all get questioned about the fuel adjustment, and that was one of the things I wanted the power committee to understand how that happens, why we got to do it, and how we come up with that number. And just we may need to be looking at our current power contract because of the way they're starting to calculate, our contribution to the MISO. So we'll have some issues, and it's just a way to make sure the next person knows what's going and the commission understands. It's getting more and more complicated. So anyway, yes. Thank you. And anybody want to be on the other two? We've got the building committee. The building's looking a little tired. It's our face to the community. We can spend a ton of money fixing it up, but we don't have a ton of money. So I'd like some other thought beside me on what would be the. We got some repairs we got to do, and what other things maybe we could do to fix the place up a little bit. And then I'd just like the board to be aware of the kind of projects we're working on. Anybody like to be on that? Besides you?
I was here on the building committee.
Okay, great. My thought there is we get our architect here and we just tour the building. And he can tell us structurally stuff that's got to get done, and then we can talk about some other things. That'd be great, thank you.
Have you thought about including anybody in the utility on any of these committees?
Well, what I thought, particularly with the building committee, was ask everybody in the building, hey, give me a list of what doesn't work, what you'd like to see changed, things like that. And then as we tour, we'd be talking. The project committee, the engineers will be involved in that. They'll be given, we meet every week to go over the projects, and my thought was a couple of commissioners to just sit in on that meeting, maybe once a month, and just get a feel for what's going on and what we're looking forward to. I think the search committee probably needs to meet once a month, go through a schedule, go through some, how we're going to need to hire a recruiter, how we want to do that, the terms, and things like that. So that was my thoughts on these things. So, we have some people that's volunteered. I'd like everybody to be on one at least.
I'm curious, on the search committee, would you consider bringing outside?
Yes.
What I was thinking about is a couple of the larger companies in West Memphis, their HR director, they wouldn't vote, but they could come in and sit down with the committee hey, here's the process we go through, here's what we're looking for, maybe kind of just give them a little bit of guidance, so they don't have to start off rolling that rock up the hill by themselves.
Conley used a recruiter that Todd gave me the name of. We could look at them as a model. We might want to just do an RFP or RFQ for a recruiter. It shows us the kind of people they've placed before, because this person's got to know about MISO, got to know about power, things like that. It just not keep the lights on. You got to do a whole lot. Then look at a schedule. You know, when do we have to have the first placement started? When could we expect candidates to interview? Because I'd like someone to be in place 3 or 4 months for a handoff rather than just walking out. So, yeah. So, we're currently doing this with the Director of Economic Development, and we can modify the process based on.
But we need to get a recruiter that recruits people in the power industry.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
I just think it's some of the HR specialists we have in town.
It's not like
can help with some molding of a general deal.
Yeah.
So,
It's not just like hiring a manager.
we're
We
gonna-
got to hire a brain.
I just wanted to see if we need to build a house first before we start finding a person to put in there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, do you have a timeline on when you want this person in the job so that we can figure out when we need to start meeting, getting the job out?
So ideally, I just pull a number out of there, they can be here 4 months. So that would be October. So we probably a month, 6 weeks, or 2 months recruiting effort. So that puts us into July. So we may take a month or 6 weeks to get together, get requests for proposals. So we need to start that in the next few weeks.
I'm ready to help you like it.
Thank you.
Yeah. What do I do, let me know.
And I'm assuming your committees, you want chairman that will schedule the meetings?
Well, we need a consensus on, chairman, get with everybody, pick a date that we can meet and kind of report back to the commission on the progress. One of the things we're gonna have to research is the pay scale. And what that would have, so, relocation packages and things like that, things we've never done before. So, any input we can get.
It's been, 45 years since somebody's been hired from outside?
Well,
I'm wondering if it's been longer than that.
that's where I think Tracy was talking about. If you get somebody that's in the business of hiring people or managing hiring people, they can kind of give us an idea for best practices out there, so that we're not walking into somebody and saying, hey, we'll give you $10 to come and work for us. And they're offering 50 just to show up to do the interview, so we'd be totally out of lunch, or out of luck on that.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be one of our challenges.
Absolutely.
Compensation.
We're not getting a lot of good publicity, not just West Memphis, this entire region.
And I hope everybody will, participate. I already told someone, I'm not gonna be here in May or June. Not that I'm not important, but some of y'all need to go ahead and fill these committees.
So, would like to maybe start with the search committee meeting next week. Could we get with me later or try to set a date now? Or what's everybody's pleasure? Any thoughts? Put everybody on the spot right now?
You set the date and then she can
Okay.
contact us and we'll know.
We'll just contact everybody and say, if you want to be on the committee, show up.
Mhm.
If you got a conflict, let us know. Okay, we'll do that with all of them then. Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else to come before us? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Burns, do I have a second? For a vote, all in favor? We stand adjourned. Thank you.
you.